Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I'm Dr. Kate Lund, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And my primary focus is working with parents and helping them to build resilience, help their kids also build resilience, move through and beyond challenge within their own unique context, and in such a way that they can thrive.
Amazing. And so tell us where you were when you got started working with Interview Connections. Were there fears and hesitations? Kind of like where were you at in your business when you made the decision to invest in working with us to get booked?
Sure. So I have a book, Bounce, Help Your Child Build Resilience and Thrive. And I published that back in 2017 and have done sort of a spattering of podcast interviews, TV interviews, radio interviews. And that was starting to kind of pick up. But I was finding that I was so busy in my business otherwise that I needed help in terms of really focusing in and honing in, booking the interviews for me. I needed a team just like Interview Connections. And in my research, I really landed on you guys as being the strongest that I saw out there. So that's kind of where I was. I was at a place where I really knew I wanted to be doing more podcast guesting, and I didn't want to be managing all of the logistics on my own. So hence I talked to Matt, and I think signed up about 35 minutes later. And then we had a great call.
Amazing. You and Ben both within 30 minutes after having
Right.
your call, you were in. I love it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So really knew that this was an investment that I wanted to make at that point. And yeah, it's gone amazingly well.
I would love to hear more about that. So what about it has gone so well for you?
Well, one of the primary goals going in was to kind of hone my platform as a speaker, because that's an angle of my business that I'm really developing at this point, sort of moving a little bit away from the one-on-one clinical work, even the one-on-one coaching, more to sort of a course development, speaking platform slash model. And so I've found that with you guys, I've done 24 interviews, maybe 23, anyway, close to 24. And it's just been an amazing opportunity for me to hone my message, really kind of focus in on the important ideas, and just honestly developing comfort, clarity, and confidence. I mean, I know that's, kind of cliche, but that's honestly what's happened.
Yeah, I'm glad that you highlighted that because it is really common for folks that are just thinking about getting on podcasts. They're really interested, but there's this fear of speaking and being consistently visible. Did you feel any, like, it sounds like you had done some media and interviews before, but can you speak any more about, you've developed a lot more confidence. Were you unconfident before? Was there fear there before you were on 24 podcasts?
All right. Well, I'll say that I remember a podcast, sort of the first podcast I'd done in a very long time was last May. And that was not with you guys. I didn't sign up with you guys until July. And I did that podcast, and I was definitely nervous. I didn't feel like my message was as honed as I would like it to be. I was using a lot of ums and ahs. It was sort of, it wasn't great. Um, Through the course of doing these 24 podcasts with you guys, as well as, I've worked with Amelia as well, fantastic coach, super helpful, and sort of highlighting oh, well, maybe, keep an eye on, the ums here, or, how can you make this more crisp, what have you. So it's a combination of doing more and having that kind of coaching and guidance that really, yes, has helped me become much more fluid, much more tuned in to the message that I want to share, and much more able to kind of go in and be flexible and, fluid and flexible, because you never do know what it's going to be like, what direction is the host going to go, unless of course they tell you ahead of time, which I've had some, and that's been great as well. But most of them are just used to go in and have an organic conversation that unfolds during the course of the interview. And that process for me has become extremely comfortable and fluid. And that's really, really helping me on the speaking front.
We actually have a question for you in the chat. Travis is asking, as a physician, what would you say are the top opportunities for a physician joining the podcast world? He said, my wife is trying to leave family medicine behind and is migrating into running a med spa. So what are your thoughts there?
Well, I'm actually a clinical psychologist, so not quite a physician, but in the same domain. Um, I think it's amazing, if there's a passion in a certain area to sort of grow and expand beyond the direct clinical service, which is actually what I'm trying to do as well with my speaking, course development, getting out there in different ways, podcasting, media, et cetera. I think there's a lot of opportunity. You need to be innovative with it. You need to push yourself out of your comfort zone, most likely, because I've found myself over time, many times actually, just kind of sinking back into what I know, which is the one-on-one direct clinical work, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's extremely important. I'm good at it. I love to do it. But I feel like there's a broader way to reach people. And it sounds like that's what you're talking about, Travis, in terms of your wife. So I would say go for it. I would say there are definitely opportunities.
Yeah. And Kate, did I see you started your own podcast as well?
Yes, yes, I did. And so that's been amazing. It's so much fun. And it's called The Optimized Mind. And it was not long after I'd started doing my interviews with you guys that I was contacted by someone from a podcast network called Mission Matters. And they were expanding and growing, and they wanted to add a psychologist to the mix. And they wanted somebody to be looking at, kind of psychology through a lifestyle lens, that sort of thing. And I hesitated at first. I was like, I'm not ready. I don't know, this, that, and the other thing. And I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and took the leap. And I have to say, it's been an amazing experience, like really amazing. And I've met amazing people, have had amazing opportunities with my interviews, and have also had amazing guests from Interview Connections, which has been awesome. In fact, I don't know if you listened just recently to Kelly O'Keefe. She posted this week, fabulous interview. And Nikki Nash, who I think might be on this call,
Here, yeah.
is coming up in the next 2 weeks. So really, really grateful and appreciative of that. But yes, starting my own podcast, push myself out of my comfort zone, but amazing experience.
Sammy wants to know, did I also see you on your podcast? You interviewed Captain Sandy from Below Deck.
Yes, I did. So I had seen Captain Sandy was publishing a book. It was on LinkedIn. So I was like, that's really fascinating because I interview a lot of authors. I wonder if she'll connect with me on LinkedIn. Reached out on LinkedIn. She connected with me, got set up through her booking agency for her to come on my podcast. She was amazing, so gracious, so open. Really, really loved that experience. So fortunate.
And as somebody who's been guesting, as a podcast guest for a little while now, since, July, and now you have your own show, can you talk about the difference of being a guest and the benefits there versus the difference in the, benefits of being a host of your own show?
Right. I think that, there are benefits on both sides for sure. I feel like I'm still very much in the growth. Well, we're always in a growth phase, right? But in terms of hosting my own show, I'm always picking apart sort of how I ran the interview, how, that kind of a thing, feeling much more fluid on the guesting side at this point. But I think that, there are benefits in both domains. I think that guesting is helping me to kind of hone my own messages a little bit more clearly, hone my own speaking platform, whereas hosting my own show is helping me connect with amazing people, hone my interview skills, and just, come at things from a little bit of a different direction. But I would say tremendous benefits on both sides.
Awesome. And just as a last final question, any kind of open-ended, but if you could just share any other wins that you've experienced from podcast guesting and any lessons or tips that you could share with our audience here on how to be a great guest or how to maximize their experience as a guest.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I guess one win that I've had, actually I've had two wins like this, and well, many more actually. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and wonder about my work and, connect with me that way through my website as a result of being on shows. I've also been invited to speak on a couple of summits related to shows, invited by hosts, and that's been a really great opportunity to hone my message, hone my speaking skills, particularly virtually at this point. So that's been great. Um, I feel like in terms of being a great guest, be open, be kind of flexible. Don't feel like you have to, have your notes in front of you and adhere to a script in a sense, but really try to be in the moment with the host such that you're really hearing their questions and are able to kind of move forward according to that question, because that will help you to, you know, gain that fluidity, build confidence over time. And don't be afraid to really be yourself and connect with the host on a human level. I think those things are really, really important.